Welcome to the 29th video in the series, Foundations of Communist Organizing. Today we'll be going over the 1923 piece by Trotsky, The New Course, which I've subtitled, Bureaucratism Threatens Party's Revolutionary Potential. In this text, in terms of party construction, structural organization, principles, and tactics, bureaucratism is tackled along with suggestions for how to deal with it, along with the need for the party to maintain open lines of communication without censorship, while maintaining absolute flexibility in organization and tactics, while also warning to retain the primacy of the proletariat. To begin with, the idea of some external deciding force making conclusions about the party is rejected, specifying the need for collective, self-analytic thinking as the only way to truly maintain continuity. Adherence to traditionalism is a rejection of such self-analysis, and thus passive discipline, and only leaves way for ad hoc violation of these traditions whenever necessary to deal with things tradition is not equipped to deal with, while self-justifying it. With proper collective thinking, revolutionary initiative, critical, bold elaboration of questions, and iron discipline, the party can draw from continuity what is best and fit for the new conditions they are in, carrying forward the true traditions of communism. However, to have such collective, self-analytic thinking, bureaucracy of all kinds must be combated. These internal structures that think and decide for the party are unable to engage directly according to the personal needs of the working class and their immediate desires, and there emerges in such bureaucratism an insular sectarianism in the party, wherein members are attacked for not having what is determined to be the correct ideological stance, or for simply expressing objection or criticism. In turn, this leads to cliqueism, and from there, factions, scheming, and anti-party groupings. A truly collective, self-analytical party allows its members to participate actively, though action is not taken solely for the sake of action. It's prepared at all times to engage in rigorous analysis to answer questions, and always in the present to fit ideological and practical with current conditions while anticipating future developments. Such a party bases its center of party activity within the rank and file membership, and rejects any form of external control over such. In a communist party, all members must be equal in all that concerns the determination of tasks and fundamental working methods of the party, and a very special knowledge of each proletarian should be used to give the fullest breadth of knowledge to make decisions. Only through proper democracy can the voice of all members be heard and the conditions for effective use of such collective knowledge emerge. The party bases its connection with the masses through nuclei, cells in various social groups, all of which influence the party and in turn need to balance and synthesize them. Factory nuclei, the principal proletarian social group; rural cells, links with the countryside; military cells, links with the army and countryside; and finally, education institute cells, links to all social groups. However, as multiple collective experiences are forced out, bureaucracy thereby has to take the fore. When the center is embedded in an external organ that is not connected to the workers, and such collective knowledge becomes less or inaccessible, the party starts needing to produce forms of auxiliary structures and functionaries to support their decision-making and direct various aspects of the party and its activities. And in such conditions, only technological improvements can reduce it without restructuring the party. Such apparatuses are necessarily bureaucratic machinery of information, and the instant that this is produced, the functionary becomes separate from the party, and thereby the masses. Eventually, with enough quantitative development of bureaucracy, a qualitative shift occurs, and the party itself separates from the masses. It is a social phenomena made up of systems of administration of men and things, and is caused by the heterogeneity of society and differences between the immediate and general interests of various groups of the population. Thus, to maintain itself, bureaucracy seeks to disunite and separate the membership into various social groups to more easily direct party activity, which weakens the party further. It must find managers, which are generally non-proletarian, and place them into unquestionable positions in the party to maintain itself, using the apparatus to excuse actions which lead to the regime being consolidated, with decisions and tasks decided by few people, who also happen to determine rewards and punishment. Ultimately, such bureaucratism is far more dangerous than splits and factions. In order to fully prevent factions, one would have to prevent groups, both permanent and temporary, which would require there be no differences of opinion. Such belief that simply the leadership prohibiting something will result in it ceasing is infantile. However, the sources of differences of opinion is the contradiction between the need of having heterogeneity and unity is inescapable by purely formal means, and contradiction and difference is key in the ability of the party to develop ideologically and politically, and thus match its conditions. Thus, under no circumstances do we want to stop such. There are other ways to deal with splits which lead to the party growing, not receding. The task of leadership is to determine how to handle a split at a given time, which is not always the same every time. Experience will show how to deal with any given split. For example, in one potential split, the resolution was through the taking of action and showing the correct path through that action. 2. In another, the party engaged in rigorous education, discussion, and explanation to steadily cause the end of the developing split. 3. In another, through investigation, it was discovered that the reason for the grouping was because of deeper issues that the opposition itself did not even understand, and those issues needed to be and were addressed, thus bringing an end to the split. The method of dealing with problems may create divisions based on people's views on how best to deal with them, and these are not necessarily class-based divisions. Ultimately, our method of dealing with problems is a key part of Marxism, and it requires good preventative measures based on Marxian analysis. Simply tossing them away and pretending they do not exist harms the dynamism of the party. Every problem must be analyzed, not ignored through bureaucratic systems. The party must hypothesize about any and all circumstances which may arise, detecting them in their infancy, and recognizing and preparing for worst-case scenarios, which makes it possible to deal with all possible necessary preventative measures based on Marxist analysis. Despite this, we should avoid excess discussion or vulgar democratic tendencies. These are best avoided by organic growth and through the combating of conservative elements, which tend to resort to bureaucracy to maintain themselves and their primacy. Conservative positions create tactics which are not based on analysis of conditions, but on traditions of the party, rested in quote-unquote natural, daily transition. Such understandings stifle the party and lead to uncritical, conservative, and counter-revolutionary organizations which separate and tail the masses. In reality, under different conditions, different tactics are needed. When objective conditions are ripe, the workers need the party to present a revolutionary party, rather than one solely looking to increase numbers. And this party must have an orientation which has 1. New tone, 2. New ways of approaching the masses, 3. New formation of the United Front, 4. New methods of organization, and 5. New technical preparation. In objective conditions, the party's orientation is ultimately a military formation, aimed for direct action to seize power. But all military maneuvers and tactics are based on timing. If one misses the mark, it can be utterly devastating. Therefore, relying on what is understood as traditionally effective in one condition, but under new conditions, cripples the party's ability to take advantage of conditions. The party must be able to rapidly shift, while also recognizing the need for tradition to act as a mass organization, as the many people in it need to know what they are doing. As such, we need to fight against inertia, traditionalism, and routinism with the best weapons, farsightedness, and revolutionary tactical initiative. This can only be done if one understands Marxism as a method, not a predetermination, and Leninism as the application of said methodology under particular conditions. Some of Lenin is generalized, but most is reacting to conditions out of far-sighted analysis to specific conditions, taking audacious tactical action. Every tactic should provoke struggle and analysis, drawing from previous experience to determine usefulness of the situation while remaining free of conservative retrospection, precedent, pure formalism, and empty quotations. Action and activity as an aggressor is what is needed, as remaining on the defensive is defeatist and leads to the party falling in on itself. Rather, The party must grow outwards, not inwards, though while demagogy can give short-term success, it is inferior and always populistic. We must aim to address, pose, and resolve fundamental revolutionary problems. Tactics are best developed through application through brave initiative, critical thinking, and ideological courage. Limiting it solely to past formal reference will halt its development. While action and initiative is key, the party should not engage in meaningless agitation, time-wasting, fruitless justification of past errors, or, as stated, demagogy which undermines the future and weakens the party's self-confidence. It should reject anything that stifles the will to revolutionary action, such as formalism, moralizing doctrinairism, and intellectual conservatism. Despite that, the party does not believe that quote-unquote anything goes. Rather, the masses' party morality is a bond of fighters in and for action. Such a bond rejects deceit of all kinds directed at comrade-at-arms. It does not rely on rote formulas, formalisms, canon, and so on. It analyzes the methods of posing and solving questions, not on the answers given. And that is my summary of the 1923 piece by Leon Trotsky, The New Course. As usual, if you'd like to go over the quotations I derived this summary from, you can find it in the description below. You will also find, as in a link to this Google Doc. This is the end of my summary of the 1923 piece by Leon Trotsky, The New Course. As usual, if you'd like to find the quotations I derived this summary from, you can go into the description below and find a link to this Google Doc. If you'd like to go into the United Marxist Pact Discord server where we can talk about this in greater detail or anything else along those lines, then please feel free to go to that link also in the description. Tomorrow we will be going over the 1924 piece by the Communist Party of Italy, Clandestine National Conference at Como, Bordiga draft theses presented by the left on the policies and tasks of the Party of Communists in Italy. With that said, thank you for joining me for today's topical summary, and I hope to see you tomorrow.